listen, just recognize, Franco, that job interviews are about who you are as a person. They're not about your technical skills. No matter what people claim, no matter what people say, it is not about your technical skills. That gives you something to talk about in the interview, right? Your history and the things you've done, what makes you qualified, those are things it's like content you can talk about in an interview, right? But really, they're not assessing you on that content. That's what they did when you sent in your application. Now they've moved on to, what do you like as a person? So that's what the interview is really about. Now, there's always exceptions, like in IT and in some other areas, they give you like little tests and exams like you're back at school. That's usually because either they don't trust the credentials or they want to verify that the credentials mean that you are indeed qualified, like it appears in terms of technical skills. Maybe the very latest stuff, there are no credentials on it, because it's rapidly evolving. Okay, so sometimes you get that, but the primary purpose of job interviews are to assess you as a person. Franco says, hello, Bill. I just find it weird that they did not mention anything related until now. I was involved with the other process and I've always been asked this way earlier. Yeah, because they like to play games. They don't ask the tough question up front. They wait till you've committed, you've done all this work, you've prepared for interviews, you got all dressed up, and you go down there and you talk to these jackasses, and then after all of this, then they finally ask you the big awkward question, right? And the idea is that like you've done all this commitment, now you're going to blow the whole thing by answering this. It can be part of like a pressure to bargain you down, right? To get you to lower your price. You know how you go to the store and you buy baked beans, which I know is everyone's favorite food, right? Baked beans, you want to buy a can of baked beans from the store. Now, what's your behavior, right? Your behavior is, if I can buy the same can of baked beans from two different stores, I'm going to go with the store that's cheaper, right? Okay, this is basic economics, right? Employers follow this also. If they can get an employee, if they can fill it with this candidate or this candidate, but this candidate is cheaper, that's what they're going to push for, right? This idea that, they're this big, rich company and money is nothing to them and they just throw it around and they pay people way more money than they need to because they're nice. It's like, that's not a thing. That may sort of exist kind of in charities, but nowhere else. Nowhere else that's sane anyway, that we see anywhere. That's not a thing. They're trying to get you and they'd rather get you for cheap. And if all they have to do is ask you a question twice in a job interview, and that gets you to lower your salary requirement by $10,000 or something, they'll do it. And they do it every day. And it works because people don't like awkwardness, especially people that, have, how can I put this, less developed communication skills, negotiation skills, right? You don't do that for your living. Like if you're a salesperson or a negotiator or a lawyer or something, like, yeah, you're going to be the heavyweight champion of this kind of stuff. You're actually going to enjoy this process, right? Let's get down to this, right? Let's play some hardball. Let's see what you got, right? It gets them excited, right? But for normal people who aren't insane, this is awkward and they shy away from it and they don't want awkwardness. So when an interviewer puts pressure on them with one question, they kind of back down. And next thing you know, they're working for less money. They've started for $10,000 less, right? When you consider they're going to be there for 20 years or 10 years or 5 years, the first year you gave up $10,000. The second year you gave up $10,000. You're working for $10,000 under what you would have been making, right? The third year, same thing. Fourth year, same thing. $50,000 if you're there for 5 years, that question cost you. Because you didn't want any awkwardness, right? This stuff works. That's why they do it. The other thing that they do is they convince you that, it's a reasonable amount of money and that you should be happy to work here. You can get people working there believing that they're just lucky to be here and it's a lot of money. It's really fair compensation. You could get the same bunch of people working there, working just as hard or not as hard, believing that this is ridiculous. You should be paid nearly double this for what you're worth. It's all in the mind, right? So if they can convince you that you're not worth as much and you should be happy with this low number, they will. That's how this stuff works. So, that's why they do this stuff. They're going to try and get you for as low as they possibly can. It's good for the organization. It's also good for the recruiter or the hiring manager. If it's a recruiter, they actually look like a hero to their bosses. They got the talented candidate for $10,000 less money than they were predicting. And that candidate is motivated, and they're going to take the job, and they're going to be happy with the pay. Company thinks that's a good recruiter, right? They're producing results.